Welcome, dear learners. Today, we will explore a beautiful English story set by the harbor, where life is full of ships, boats, and seaside adventures. Together, we will see how harbors are busy with people, fishing, and trade, and along the way, you will discover new words about the sea, the waves, and the seagulls above. This story is designed to help you practice British English listening and reading skills, with subtitles to guide you from A2 to B1 level. Through real-life harbor scenes, learning becomes simple, exciting, and fun. Let's begin this journey together. Life at a harbor is always full of movement and discovery, and it gives us the perfect chance to explore useful English words while picturing the scene in our minds. When you arrive at a harbor, the very first thing you notice is the variety of boats and ships. Some are small and light, designed for quick trips close to the shore. Others are big, heavy ships, built to carry people or goods across long distances. Each one has its own special purpose, and by learning these words, you begin to connect English vocabulary with real-life images. Imagine standing by the water, looking at a fishing boat rocking gently with the waves. You can hear the ropes pulling, you can see the sails moving, and you can even smell the salty sea air. Every little detail helps you remember the English words more clearly. At the same time, the harbor is not only about the boats themselves. There are many seaside activities happening all around. People are busy fixing nets, loading supplies, or preparing for their journeys. Others might be walking along the pier, enjoying the view, or simply sitting on a bench, watching the boats come and go. When you learn words like to fish, to sail, or to travel, you can imagine these people and their actions. This makes the vocabulary more alive, more real, and easier to remember. You are not only learning English, you are experiencing a picture of daily life by the sea. The harbor also brings together sounds and feelings that are full of language. Seagulls cry above your head, waves crash gently against the dock, and the wooden boats creak as they move. Each sound connects to new words: waves, seagull, ship, boat. When you repeat them slowly, they become a part of your speaking practice. Even if you are only listening to a story, your mind can travel there, and you can practice saying the words as though you are part of the scene. Learning English through this kind of story makes studying more natural. Instead of memorizing words from a list, you see and hear how they fit into a real situation. A harbor is not just a place, it becomes your classroom. By exploring the ships, the boats, and the simple seaside activities, you are building your English step by step in a way that feels meaningful and enjoyable. That is the beauty of learning through a harbor story. When we think about a harbor, we often imagine calm water and colorful boats, but in reality, a harbor is a very busy place full of people, fishing, and trade. From the moment the sun rises, activity begins. Fishermen prepare their nets, check their equipment, and set off to catch fish. Their hard work is part of daily life, and it introduces us to useful English words like net, catch, and market. As the boats return later in the day, the harbor comes alive with the sounds of people unloading baskets of fish, carrying them to stalls, and preparing to sell them. This simple scene gives us natural ways to connect English words with real actions, helping us remember them more easily. But fishing is not the only activity that fills a harbor. Trade is another important part of life there. Larger ships often bring goods from other towns or countries. Boxes, barrels, and containers are carefully moved from the ships to the docks. People work together, lifting, sorting, and transporting items. In English, this introduces words like cargo, supplies, and delivery. By linking these words to the image of busy workers, learners can understand not just the meaning but also the feeling of the activity. Trade shows how a harbor is more than just a place for boats. It is a place where people connect, share, and support each other's lives. And of course, harbors are filled with people from all walks of life. You might see sailors talking to each other, tourists walking along the edge of the pier, or local families enjoying the view. Each group of people adds to the lively atmosphere. Conversations happen everywhere, voices mix with the sounds of waves and seagulls, and the whole area feels alive. This variety makes the harbor an exciting place to practice listening and speaking in English. Words like busy, crowded, or lively become much easier to understand when you imagine them describing such a scene. What makes a harbor so special is that all of these activities happen together. Fishing, trading, and daily life mix in one place, creating energy and movement. For learners of English, this makes the story of a harbor a powerful tool. By picturing a harbor full of people, fishing boats, and trade, you not only learn new vocabulary, but also experience the rhythm of English through real and meaningful images. That is the strength of a harbor's busy life. When learners listen to a story about the harbor, one of the most enjoyable parts is discovering new English words connected to the sea, the waves, and the seagulls that fill the sky. The sea itself is a powerful image. It stretches far into the distance, sometimes calm and peaceful, sometimes strong and full of energy. In English, the word sea carries more than just the idea of water. It carries a feeling of adventure and travel. By repeating the word and imagining the picture, learners can connect the sound of the word to the beauty of the scene. Then come the waves, always moving, always changing. Waves can be small, gently touching the shore, or they can be large and exciting, splashing against rocks and boats. The word waves is not only a piece of vocabulary, but also an experience. You can almost hear it in your mind, the soft crash, the rolling motion, the constant rhythm. Learning this word helps learners describe action, movement, and sound. It becomes more than a definition. It becomes a way to tell a story in English. When you say, "The waves are high," or "The waves are gentle," you are practicing how to describe the world with simple but powerful language. And above the sea and waves, the seagulls add their own voice to the harbor. They fly in circles, calling loudly, sometimes landing on boats or walking along the sand to look for food. The word seagull might seem unusual at first, but it connects directly to the picture of a bird that lives by the water. It also shows learners how English words are often built. Sea plus gull creates the name of the bird. By noticing this, learners start to understand not just one word, but also the way English puts ideas together. Each of these words, sea, waves, seagull, helps to create a full picture of life by the harbor. They bring color, sound, and movement to the language. More importantly, they help learners feel the connection between vocabulary and real experience. Instead of only studying from a book, they can close their eyes, imagine the harbor, and practice saying the words as if they are standing there. This makes learning natural, memorable, and enjoyable. That is the joy of discovering new words by the sea. One of the most valuable parts of listening to a harbor story is how it helps learners practice their British English listening and reading skills together. When you hear the story read aloud in a clear British accent, every word becomes a chance to train your ears. The sound of the accent, the rhythm of the sentences, and the way the words flow naturally all give you practice in recognizing English as it is spoken. At first, some words may feel new or difficult, but as you listen again and again, your ears begin to catch them more easily. Listening is not just about understanding the meaning of words. It is also about feeling the music of the language, the way the voice rises and falls, and the natural pauses that make English sound alive. At the same time, having subtitles allows learners to connect what they hear with what they see. Reading while listening creates a powerful learning habit. When your eyes follow the text, your brain matches the sound to the spelling, and slowly the words become familiar friends. This makes it easier to remember vocabulary and helps you notice small details, such as the difference between similar-looking words. By reading along with the subtitles, learners can practice pronunciation because they not only hear how a word sounds, but also see how it is written. This builds confidence when trying to say the words aloud. Stories also give context, which makes listening and reading more meaningful. When a character describes the harbor, the boats, or the seagulls, learners already have a picture in their minds. This picture helps them guess the meaning of words they might not know yet. Instead of stopping at every new word, they understand it through the story. This natural process is how listening and reading skills improve over time. Each sentence connects to an image, each paragraph builds an idea, and learners start to feel comfortable with the flow of British English. The more often learners practice in this way, the easier it becomes to follow conversations in real life. Listening to the accent in a calm, story setting prepares them for situations where people speak faster or use everyday expressions. Reading with subtitles strengthens spelling and comprehension, so learners can enjoy both listening and reading without stress. With practice, this combination makes English not only easier, but also more enjoyable to use in daily life. That is the true strength of practicing listening and reading together. Subtitles play an important role in helping learners from beginner level A2 to lower intermediate level B1 because they give extra support while listening and reading at the same time. For many learners, hearing English can sometimes feel too fast, especially when words join together in natural speech. Subtitles make this easier by showing the words on the screen, so learners do not feel lost. They can follow the story line by line, and if a word is unclear when they hear it, they can see it written and immediately understand. This gives learners confidence because they are not only relying on their ears, they have a second tool to guide them. At the A2 level, learners are still building a foundation of common words and simple grammar. Subtitles help by reinforcing this base. When they listen to the word boat and also see the letters on the screen, the connection between sound and spelling becomes stronger. At this stage, learners benefit from repeating the words, noticing their pronunciation, and slowly recognizing them without subtitles over time. It is like training wheels on a bicycle. Subtitles keep the balance steady until the learner is ready to ride more independently. For B1 learners, subtitles still provide value, but in a slightly different way. At this level, learners already understand more vocabulary and can follow longer sentences. Subtitles help them notice details they might miss by sound alone. For example, they might see how words are spelled differently even if they sound the same, like muscle and muscle. They might also begin to recognize patterns in grammar or pick up on small connecting words such as although or however that give shape to the sentence. Subtitles make these details clear, so learners move from just basic understanding to deeper comprehension. Another important benefit of subtitles is the freedom to control learning speed. Learners can pause, rewind, or replay sections, reading and listening as many times as they need. This flexibility helps them learn at their own pace without pressure. Over time, they begin to rely less on subtitles, but at the beginning, they provide the comfort needed to keep moving forward. Whether at A2 or B1, subtitles create a safe and supportive bridge between listening and reading. They guide learners step by step, turning a story into both an enjoyable experience and a powerful learning tool. That is the real support subtitles bring to English learning. This story makes learning English fun because it takes us straight into real-life harbor scenes that feel alive and colorful. Instead of just reading from a textbook, learners are invited to picture the harbor, with its boats moving gently in the water, the waves breaking against the dock, and the people working or relaxing by the seaside. This kind of setting makes English words easier to remember because every new word is connected to something real, something you can imagine. When you hear the word yacht, you can imagine the tall sails and the shining white deck. When you learn the word crab, you can picture it moving sideways on the sand. The connection between the word and the image makes the learning natural, enjoyable, and lasting. Harbour scenes also bring variety, which keeps learners interested. One moment you are listening to fishermen pulling in their nets, and the next you are imagining children running by the water's edge or people sitting in a seaside pub. Every detail introduces new words and phrases, but because they are part of a story, they do not feel like difficult lessons. Instead, they feel like small discoveries that come naturally as the story moves forward. Learners stay curious, waiting to see what will happen next, and with every scene, more vocabulary is added without pressure. Stories like this also allow learners to practice describing feelings and experiences. The harbor is not only full of objects like boats, nets, and ropes. It is full of atmosphere. You can describe it as busy, exciting, or peaceful, depending on the moment. Learners start to see how English words are not only about things, but also about emotions, sounds, and sensations. This makes their language richer and more expressive. They are not just naming objects. They are learning how to bring scenes to life with words. Most importantly, using real, life settings like a harbor makes learning feel useful. Learners can imagine themselves visiting such a place, hearing these words in conversation, and using them confidently. Instead of memorizing vocabulary lists that might feel disconnected from daily life, they are practicing English in a way that feels practical and relevant. This connection to real experiences keeps motivation high and makes English something to enjoy rather than something to fear. That is the joy of learning English through real-life harbor scenes. Thank you for joining this harbor journey today. We explored the life of boats, ships, and seaside activities, and saw how harbors are filled with people, fishing, and trade. Along the way, you discovered new English words about the sea, waves, and seagulls, while practicing both listening and reading skills in British English. With subtitles supporting you from A2 to B1, every step became easier and clearer. And through real-life harbor scenes, learning turned into an enjoyable experience rather than a task. Keep practicing, keep imagining, and let English grow naturally with every story. See you in the next lesson.